A negotiated schedule of testimony continued calls for an FBI investigation, and a second accuser of sexual misconduct steps forward. Thursday's Senate hearings with Supreme Court nominee Judge Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford have all the elements of courtroom high drama.
But are the lines between spectacle and criminality being blurred? And what should we expect and what can be proven? Joining us now is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Ambrosio Rodriguez. Welcome back, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
The second accuser, Deborah Ramirez, claims that Kavanaugh exposed himself to her. They both were said to be drunk. She says that she was inebriated when this happened. You say you're not surprised that another person has come forward. I'm just curious, how does one possibly sort through all of this information?
Okay, I think it's important for all of us to keep in mind that this isn't a criminal trial, that this is a job interview. Judge Kavanaugh doesn't have to be proved guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just an issue as to whether or not the senators feel that there's enough evidence for him not to be confirmed in the Supreme Court. I think we all, just as Americans, have a kind of a standard default setting that we want some kind of proof that we assume people innocent, right? That's kind of part of our makeup as Americans. But I think now that we have a second accuser, really puts into question as to whether or not this nomination is going to go forward. And also, last night and this morning came out news that Michael Avenatti has witnesses that basically are accusing Judge Kavanaugh of gang rape, right? That's the accusation, which is a very serious accusation. And the emails have been published that Avenatti is in negotiations with Mike Davis, who's the senior attorney who's in charge of the committee. So it's Monday morning. It's going to be a very busy news week when it comes to this issue. I think that if more evidence comes forward, I think it's in doubt as to whether or not this is going to go through, because it depended on the Republicans were counting on 2 votes: Senator Collins from Maine and Senator Murkowski from Alaska. They were on the fence, and now with a second woman coming forward and maybe more, who knows?
And with that information, does this add more fuel to the call for an FBI investigation?
I think so. Look, I can tell you in my experience as a defense lawyer, there's nothing like the FBI. FBI, if you're listening, you're amazing. I mean, the level of professionalism, scope that they have is bar none. I have never known of a situation where you have something this serious where the FBI doesn't get involved. The president has the authority, and only the president, because it's part of the executive branch, to have the FBI do an investigation. So I'm kind of surprised that they haven't.
Okay, so we have the setup for potentially the testimony happening on Thursday. And as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, I would imagine that you hear both alleged victims and alleged suspects say things and have a filter that we don't. So what are you going to be listening for?
Right. If I'm defending Judge Kavanaugh, the defense is pretty straightforward, which is this is a smear campaign and just deny it. Because he can deny that he was even in that party. Obviously, he can't deny that he was a student at George Allen Prep or at Yale. But as a prosecution, it is not uncommon in sex crimes for there not to be any physical evidence. It is very, very common for there to be late reporting. I can tell you that when I was a prosecutor, if I had 2 alleged victims, I knew I had a good case. And as a defense attorney, whenever there are multiple accusers against my client, then it becomes very dicey. I don't think people are comfortable with a he said, she said situation, but when it's a she said, then it becomes something different, I think, in people's minds.
Yeah.
And look, I think that's something to keep in mind. Trump issued a list of judges in 2016. These are the people I'm going to nominate. That list came from the Federalist Society, and that list came from, we're talking about just people from 2 law schools, right? Harvard and Yale. These are people that have known each other since private school. They know who they are to themselves. And I just think it's interesting that they kept Brett Kavanaugh, with all of his qualifications, off that list. Maybe they knew something about his personal behavior that we don't.
Well, we don't know that,
right.
but that's a theory.
All right, Ambrosio,
right.
Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you
Ambrosio
for having me.
Rodriguez is a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. You can check out his website and follow him on Twitter. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.